This is James with First Home Inspectors. I wanted to show you some things that I found in this home I'm inspecting here in Las Vegas. If you're moving here, maybe it gives you an idea of what you can expect from a home and the kind of issues you might run into. So I'm just gonna take us pretty much just room by room. One common issue I found in this home particularly was that none of the exhaust fans work. And I know my last video had the exact same issue, so I just find that kind of weird. The next thing is you have these weird style of shutoffs. I'm not sure if most homeowners know how to operate that. And that's not a defect, that's just something that they should just be aware of, maybe get a little bit of training on. Under most of our sinks, we have a little bit of water damage. This bedroom over here, if I were to say one thing, I'd recommend that they add a door guide right here. That'll stop the door from doing that. The reason why we want to have that installed is that here at the top of the track, if we start swaying too much like that, it's gonna put some stress on this and it'll actually bend it. And so oftentimes when you have your doors fall out of the track, that's part of the reason why. One thing I like to point out though, this is one of the things on the checklist that we check in every single room, is to make sure the door can actually lock. And this one cannot. There's no way for this to lock. If someone was trying to turn that into a bedroom or something, they might have a little bit of trouble there. Here we get some drywall cracks in the ceiling. I wouldn't particularly be too stressed out about anything that size. The rule is that if it's less than 1/8 of an inch, don't worry about it, we're probably okay. Here we got a broken piece of glass. It's unfortunate that that happened. It just needs to be addressed. Take us around the side here. Gonna head into the primary bedroom. Closet is completely fine. It's got one funny issue. It looks like they tried to drop some cables down a while ago, but that's not really an issue. Low voltage items aren't really too problematic. An issue we saw here though, I found kind of interesting, is that when you run the sinks for a little bit, you'll notice that they both kind of fill up with water. This valve is leaking like crazy. Naturally with this, all we gotta do, maybe pour some Drano, or what I like better is using the snake. You just pull it down, push it back up, and it grabs a lot of the hair and gunk that's sitting in there, and you have to use less chemicals. So whenever you get to use less chemicals, I think that's always a good thing. Shower, it's looking pretty good. What I would recommend though is getting shower glass whenever you have a low curb like that, if possible. You can see a little bit right there. Let me take a quick pause, I'll grab my flashlight. All right, so I'm back with my flashlight. And you can see just the smallest bit of water damage right at the corner there. Here it's actually looking fine. You can tell that at some point they decided to redo the shower. You can see, all the new texture on the wall where they try to patch it. That's not necessarily a defect. Obviously this tub hasn't been run in a while, so the water that came out was pretty dirty. It's just been sitting in the pipe for too long. That's not really a cause for concern. You just straighten that out. There's a whole bunch of smaller items that are in this home. They're all in the report. Once again, the door guide there, you want to get one of those. This bathroom right here, it's always a good idea to get the seal between the bottom of the toilet and the floor, but if you can't, it's not really the end of the world. This one has a little more water damage, and this is what I was kind of talking about, where if you have a low curb like this, you don't have the tall one where you have to like really step over, get a little more chance for water flying out the side. And you can see that here, how it's like bending out to the right. Another issue is right behind the shower valve. It doesn't have a really good seal around that. See that? If you are splashing around a very regular shower, you can get a lot of water out behind that. And there should be an overflow, like a secondary wall inside where the water should come out. But if that's clogged, you're just building up water in this thing and a new issue can arise. There are safety mechanisms in the house. In my opinion, it's not really a good idea to try and push those to their limit. The rest of this is fine. Once again, we just don't have the exhaust fans working. What we check for in the bedrooms to make sure we have a large enough window to escape of in case of a fire. We check to see that you got some heating and cooling in there. If we have a ceiling fan that's attached, we like to make sure that it's actually working. The light turns on. Closet isn't mandatory, but we always like to check the closet. If there isn't one, we bring it up. Also, if the closet is missing doors, we'll bring that up as well. We make sure that the door to the room actually latches and locks. If it has a lock, this one does not have locks. That's not necessarily a defect, maybe an FYI, but we just make sure that works too. Also make sure there's no water damage on the ceilings, or especially any of the walls. Make sure there's no water damage around the windows. Sometimes we get that. Oh, and a smoke detector as well. But bedrooms are pretty simple. Those aren't too bad. Where it gets complicated are the bathrooms, the kitchens. Actually, we'll do a quick walk around here in this kitchen. Dishwasher's working just fine. What they might want to do is just reseal where the countertop meets the actual sink. Just make sure we redo that seal. This one's kind of dried out. And that'll happen if you use a lot of chemicals and stuff. Generally, that's what causes that. Just dries the plastic out, if you will. An issue we see here is that this pipe is supposed to be sloped the other way. So we call this the P-trap. It should be sloped downward after the P-trap. Here, what we've got is sloped upward after the P-trap. And so that's going to encourage more water to come back over here. It's going to encourage more leaks and stuff. You can see here's some schmutz right there. Someone cleaned that up, but that's kind of what happens when you have something that slopes backwards like that. It just fills up a little too much, and it creates, in this case, it was a mood issue. Nothing really happened. Well, that just kind of happens. Another really common thing we're going to see in homes, I think all across states, we're going to see some sort of water damage underneath the sink, especially the kitchen sink. We have more penetrations up here on the countertop. We've got more plumbing connections under here in general. So I gotta tell you guys to go get mold testing, but I think for the most part, most people say there isn't mold, and that's not me saying that, that's mold specialist, but if you're sensitive to it, definitely get it checked out. Nothing crazy going on here. We always look for water damage. I mean, of the myriad of things we're looking for, and I always like to make sure that this exhaust duct for the dryer isn't crinkled or anything like that. This one's looking just fine. We'll do another check to make sure there's no water damage. We'll zoom in so you guys can check with me. It's there. A little tight over here. There's no water damage out here. In the attic, everything's looking fine. Nothing too crazy going on. The garage door, you can see it's gonna close on its own. Practically self-closing hinges that we've got. And you can tell in contrast, looks a lot different from the hinges that we have over on these doors. Pretty much the rest of the home doesn't require self-closing hinges. Throw some lights on. In this garage, we get some cracks in the ceiling, and in this area, I'm just mentioning it to the homeowner that they might want to get this checked. And the only reason why, so none of these cracks are really all that big, but there's enough of them and they're weird patterns. There's one that goes like that. There's another one that goes like that. And I don't see that too often. We also got some cracks that are going up along over here too, so kind of worth bringing up. We got one water stain up here. I'm concerned with that, honestly, but this is something I would be a little concerned about. First, the obvious, this isn't labeled, right? This, 9 and 11 aren't labeled, and so we got no way of knowing where that goes to. But also, when we have an opening like that, we need to have it covered up. And the reason why is because if for some reason, if a homeowner sticks their finger and they touch that metal part that's right in front of you, right there, that will shock the crap out of them. That thing is live and it doesn't look live. So we just gotta it's literally a $1 cover and you just snap it in. It's so easy to install. There's nothing, everything's labeled up here. Nothing's missing, everything's looking good. Go ahead and close that up. Rest of the garage is looking just fine. Here's our pressure. Some people call this a PRV, other people call this a pressure reducing valve. It's basically telling us that the street pressure is higher than what we want in the home. And typically in the home, we want between 40 and 60. Once it gets past 80, we start talking about it. Here we got a little bit of calcium buildup, and that's technically a sign of a leak, but it's the end of the world. So always let the homeowner know about that, but it's nothing to really get too crazy about. This, by the way, is a soft water loop. So if you want to add in a water softener, this is where you would do that. These two pipes are telling us that these are the overflows or the secondary condensate lines for the HVAC system. Oftentimes they're on the outside of the building, but here we have them inside. And if they start dripping water on the floor here, that's how you know that there's something going on with your AC system and you have to start addressing it. Our water heater, it's looking just fine. We start off here at the gas line. We have the sediment trap like we should. The thermostat for it is looking okay. We have a pan underneath it. We've got to wait for water to drip out onto the floor, concrete floor, if this thing ever filled up with water. We got seismic straps on it, which is good. We got no calcium buildup on that valve there. No water stains around the flue when it penetrates the drywall. We'll see that every once in a while. We have a continual slope downward from the temperature pressure relief valve all the way out the wall. Walk us back inside and get us right back over here. So without doing the outside and kind of giving the house away and stuff, hope you guys learned a lot about, what you can expect. And this is a pretty typical home here in Las Vegas. I feel like I've seen this style with the same building materials, with the stucco, with the age, with the water heater type, all that kind of stuff over and over and over again. So gives you a good idea if you're moving here, what you can expect in a home. Say this one is, I believe this is a 2000s home. Gives you an idea what you can expect from something like that. So if you're moving to the Las Vegas area, need a home inspector you can trust, be sure to reach out. My name is James with First Home Inspectors, and we would love to work with you.